When a wounded rogue woman shatters the Alpha King's silver chains with her bare hands, she awakens a curse and a bond that should never exist. His wolf calls her mate, but his kingdom calls her enemy. Desire burns, fate twists, and soon the Alpha King will defy destiny to claim her as his Louna. Hey everyone! Before we dive into today's video, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your country or city in the comments below. It truly amazes me how far our community reaches around the world. Alright, now let's begin. The sound of rattling chains sliced through the cold air of the dungeon. The scent of damp stone and blood hung heavy, wrapping the space in silence too cruel for comfort. A woman knelt in the center of the room, wrists bound in silver cuffs that hissed against her skin. Her name was Seraphina, a rogue with scars that told a story no one dared to ask about. The guards whispered she wasn't human, that her blood burned hotter than fire. Across the cell, a massive wolf lay motionless, its silver fur soaked in crimson. Its eyes were shut, its breathing shallow, and beside it, the thick silver chains glowed faintly under torchlight. The villagers had called it a monster, but Seraphina saw something else: pain. The Alpha King soldiers stood nearby, waiting for orders. "Let it die," one muttered. "No wolf survives silver." But something inside her screamed no. Her fingers trembled, a pulse of heat spreading through her palms. Her heartbeat grew louder, faster, until the silver burned and cracked like lightning under her grip. The guards gasped as the air thickened, trembling under unseen power. Seraphina's eyes glowed faint gold, like wildfire trapped in stormlight. She didn't understand it, didn't want to, but something ancient inside her had awakened. She tore the chains apart with a sound like thunder, the silver melting into smoke that hissed against the floor. The wolf's head snapped up, golden eyes locking with hers, eyes filled with fury and something she couldn't name. A heartbeat later, the ground shook. "Move!" one guard yelled, but it was too late. The beast roared, shattering the dungeon door into splinters. In that chaos, Seraphina fell to her knees, gasping, her veins alight like molten fire. The wolf shifted midair, bones cracking, light flashing, until a man stood where the beast had been. His dark hair clung to his skin, his body rippled with power, and his voice, low and dangerous, made her blood freeze. "You broke my chains," he said, stepping closer, his eyes gleaming like burning amber. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" She couldn't speak. The man before her wasn't just any werewolf. He was him, the Alpha King, Cairo of the Northern Moon Pack, the cursed ruler said to be untamable, broken by war and bound by silver forged from moonstone itself. No one had ever freed him. Until now. The remaining guards dropped to their knees, trembling. "My lord," one stammered. But Cairo didn't look away from her. His gaze burned straight into her soul, tracing the outline of her trembling lips, her dirt-streaked skin, the pulse at her throat. "Can you tell me what you are?" he demanded softly, but his tone carried the weight of thunder. Seraphina swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know." He crouched down, fingers brushing her wrist where the cuff had scorched her skin. His touch sent a shiver through her, not from fear, but something rawer. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. He murmured, almost as if he hated himself for saying it, "And that is a very dangerous thing." Outside, the night raged, wind howling through the castle's broken windows as if echoing the chaos inside. Seraphina stumbled back, her mind spinning. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. She had come here to find her brother, captured by the king's soldiers. She had planned to sneak in, steal the dungeon keys, and vanish before dawn. Instead, she had freed the most feared creature alive. And now, the way he looked at her made it feel like the world had shifted on its axis. Cairo stood tall again, the dim torchlight casting shadows over his sharp jaw and battle-worn skin. His body was marked by claw scars and centuries of rage, but his eyes softened when they met hers. "You should have run," he said quietly, "because now you can't." The words hung heavy, neither threat nor promise, but something in between. Serafina's pulse raced as he stepped closer, close enough that his scent, wild, earthy, and tinged with smoke, filled her lungs. In the silence that followed, the broken chains still hissed faintly on the ground. The guards dared not move. The Alpha King extended his hand toward her, palm open. "You freed me," he said. Voice steady now, rich and deep. "By our laws, by our bond, you belong to me." Serafina stared at his hand, heart pounding like thunder in her chest. "I don't belong to anyone," she whispered. The faintest smirk touched his lips. "You will," he replied. And then his wolf, that immense, ancient spirit, rippled behind his eyes like a storm ready to consume her. With one step, he closed the distance between them, his aura crashing over her like heat from a wildfire. The torches flickered out, darkness swallowed the room, except for the faint glow from his gaze. The guards fled, the air pulsed, and in that sacred, terrifying silence, Cairo's next words sealed the fate of both their worlds. "From this moment on," he growled, voice trembling with power, "you belong to me, my savior, and my Louna." The sun had not yet risen when the palace trembled awake. Rumors raced through its halls like wildfire. The Alpha King was free. For 13 years, he'd been locked beneath the castle, cursed by the very silver forged to protect his throne. Now, that same curse had shattered in the hands of a rogue. Serafina sat in a dim room lit by the glow of the early dawn, her wrists wrapped in cloth to hide the burns from the cuffs. Her thoughts were loud, too loud, echoing with the Alpha King's words. "My savior and my Louna?" She shook her head, heart pounding. She didn't want a title. She wanted her brother, Arlen. But when the guards had dragged her here after the dungeon collapsed, they'd said nothing about him. They'd only said the king demanded to see her again. A knock echoed at her door. "He's waiting," said a voice, female, sharp, commanding. Serafina turned to see a woman in dark armor, her silver hair braided tight. "I'm Captain Vereen. Follow me, Louna." The last word stung. Serafina clenched her fists. "Don't call me that," she muttered. But Vereen only smiled faintly. "You don't get to choose that, girl." They walked through the grand corridor, its marble floors veined with gold, sunlight spilling through tall windows. Serafina's bare feet left faint prints of dirt and blood. She didn't belong here, and every echo of her steps reminded her of it. Guards watched her with suspicion, some even with fear. She felt their whispers follow her like ghosts. "That's the rogue who freed him. She'll bring the curse back." Vereen led her to a massive door carved with symbols of moons and wolves, stopping before it. "He's been waiting since dawn," she said softly. Then her tone hardened. "Whatever happens in there, remember this. When the Alpha King looks at you, he doesn't see a woman. He sees fate, and fate is a dangerous thing." The doors opened with a deep groan. Inside, the throne room stretched endlessly, its ceiling painted with constellations that shimmered faintly even in daylight. At the far end sat Cairo, no crown on his head, only a black coat draped across his shoulders. His eyes lifted when she entered, gold and fire and something unspoken. "Come closer," Cairo commanded, his voice low, unhurried, the kind of voice that made even silence obey. Seraphina's heart hammered against her ribs, but she stepped forward until she stood just a few feet away. His gaze swept over her, lingering where the cloth covered her wrists. "You healed faster than expected. Human skin doesn't recover from silver burns in a day." She looked down. "Maybe I'm not just human," she said, defiant. A hint of amusement curved his mouth. "I never said you were." He stood, his movement effortless, predatory. The light caught on the scars, marks from battles no one survived, and when he approached her, the air grew heavy. "The chains you broke weren't ordinary," he said, circling her slowly. "They carried the curse that kept my wolf bound. You shattered that curse, and bound yourself to me." Her breath hitched. "Bound? Look." He reached forward, and before she could step back, he touched her wrist. A golden light flared beneath her skin, faint, pulsing, shaped like the crescent of a moon. Her knees weakened. "What did you do to me?" she whispered. His eyes darkened. "You freed me, and freedom demands balance." The mark glowed once more before fading, leaving a faint warmth beneath her skin. Cairo stepped back, steadying her reaction. "This bond means your life is tied to mine. If I fall, you fall. If I rise, you rise. It is law written in blood and moonlight." Seraphina's chest tightened. "Break it," she demanded. "I didn't ask for this." He turned away, his voice quieter now, heavy with something that wasn't anger. "Neither did I." Silence hung between them, broken only by the wind that whispered through the stained glass windows. Then, his tone hardened again. "Your brother is alive." Her breath caught. "Where is he?" Cairo's gaze met hers, steady, unreadable. "Held in the eastern cells. He tried to free you while I slept." She took a step forward, but guards blocked her instantly. His voice sliced through the tension. "He'll live if you do as I say." Her heart sank. "What do you want?" He studied her, eyes gleaming with something fierce and unspoken. "Stay by my side until the moon chooses to release us." That night, Seraphina stood by her window, watching the moon climb above the black forest. The mark on her wrist pulsed softly, in rhythm with her heartbeat, or maybe his. She could feel him, faintly, like a whisper at the edge of her thoughts. Memories of the dungeon flashed in her mind. His voice, his scent, the look in his eyes when he called her Louna. She didn't understand any of it. But deep down, beneath the fear and confusion, was something else. Something she didn't want to name. Far below, in the courtyard, she saw movement. Cairo, shirtless under the moonlight, training alone, his breath misting in the cold air. Every strike of his blade carried fury. Every motion was precision and grief. His scars glowed faintly in the moon's reflection. He stopped suddenly, as if sensing her gaze. Their eyes met from across the distance, her from the tower, him from the shadows. And though neither spoke, the bond between them pulsed alive. The mark burned warm beneath her skin. For the first time, Seraphina realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a curse. It was a connection neither of them could escape. The next morning arrived wrapped in mist and silence. The palace felt different now, restless, alive, like the walls themselves were listening. Servants hurried through corridors whispering about the rogue girl who had freed the cursed king. Some feared her, others bowed when she passed. Serafina ignored them all, her mind trapped between two thoughts, her brother and the bond. She could still feel it pulsing beneath her skin, the faint echo of the Alpha King's heartbeat. She hated it. She hated how it made her aware of his presence even when she couldn't see him. When Vereen appeared at her door again, armor gleaming, Serafina already knew where she was being taken. "He wants you in the war room," Vereen said. "He's preparing to face the Southern Pacts." Serafina frowned. "What does that have to do with me?" The captain gave a knowing smirk. "Everything. You freed him, now you share his fate." As they walked, the low hum of voices and the scent of steel filled the air. Every soldier they passed lowered their gaze. No one dared look directly at the woman tied to the king's power. The war room was a fortress of stone and firelight. Maps lined the walls, inked with borders drawn in blood and ash. Cairo stood at the head of the table, sleeves rolled up, hands braced against the wood. His muscles were tense, his eyes glowing faintly gold, a sure sign his wolf was near the surface. When Serafina entered, the air shifted. "You're late," he said, not looking up. "You didn't summon me," she replied coldly. He finally lifted his gaze. "I didn't have to." His eyes flicked briefly at her wrist where the mark still shimmered faintly under her skin. "You feel when I call, don't you?" Her stomach turned. She wanted to deny it, but lying would be useless. "What do you want from me, Cairo?" His jaw tightened. "The Southern Alphas have declared rebellion. They'll come for me by moonrise, and they'll come for you too. You carry my mark now. That makes you their prize." He stepped closer, his voice low, dangerous. "If you stay by my side, I can protect you. If you run, I'll have to hunt you myself." The fire cracked behind him, the shadows dancing across his scarred face like ghosts of his past. Serafina's breath caught, anger flashing through her chest. "You think you want my protection? I didn't ask for your mark." His gaze hardened, his wolf rising. "And yet you wear it," he said. The heat between them was sharp, unbearable, a current neither could stop. "You saved my life, Serafina," he continued, voice rough with something that sounded like guilt. "By our laws, that creates a debt, one I can't ignore. Until it's repaid, you're under my protection, whether you want it or not." She crossed her arms. "Then repay it by freeing my brother." His expression shifted, a flicker of hesitation. "Your brother is reckless. He's already been warned once." "He's my family," she said, her voice cracking despite her resolve. For a moment, Cairo's gaze softened, the Alpha's mask slipping. "You remind me of someone," he murmured. "Someone who died protecting blood that didn't deserve her." His words hung heavy between them, filled with a pain she didn't yet understand. Then without warning, he turned away. "Fine," he said. "You want your brother? You'll have to earn him." Before she could ask what he meant, Cairo gestured to the training grounds below. "If you're to survive what's coming, you'll learn to fight. My way." The doors opened and sunlight poured in, revealing the courtyard where warriors trained in circles of dust and sweat. The scent of pine and iron filled the air. "You can't be serious," Serafina muttered. "Deadly serious," he said, stepping past her. "Every Louna must be able to defend her alpha, or die trying." The word Louna made her stomach twist, but she followed anyway, drawn by something she didn't want to name. When they stepped into the open, the warriors stopped mid-motion. The Alpha King's presence commanded silence. "This rogue," Cairo announced, his voice echoing through the yard, "broke my chains. From this day forward, she trains as one of us. Anyone who thinks she doesn't belong here may challenge her." The silence broke into murmurs, disbelief, resentment. One soldier spat on the ground. "She's cursed!" Kyle's eyes flared gold, silencing them with a single look. Then curse your tongues and fight her if you dare." Seraphina's training began before she could even catch her breath. Wooden blades clashed, sweat burned her eyes, and every muscle screamed in protest. But she didn't stop. The faces of those who doubted her became fuel. The memory of her brother's voice, "You're stronger than they think," echoed in her head. When she stumbled, Kyril was there, his voice sharp but steady. "Again," he ordered. "Focus." His wolf-like instincts guided her every move, how to strike, when to dodge, where to breathe. Hours passed until dusk painted the sky crimson. Her arms trembled, her lungs burned, and when she finally fell to her knees, Kyril caught her before she hit the ground. His touch sent a spark through her, not the soft kind, but the kind that burned and branded. "You did well," he said quietly. "Better than I expected." She looked up at him, sweat and dirt streaking her face. "Why do you care?" His jaw clenched, but his eyes betrayed him. There was something unspoken there, a memory buried deep. He brushed a strand of hair from her cheek, his fingers lingering a heartbeat too long. "Because your strength reminds me of what it means to be free." The mark on her wrist flared again, golden and warm, and for the first time, she didn't know whether to run from it or let it burn her completely. The night came alive with whispers of war. From the castle's highest tower, Seraphina watched the moon climb the horizon, larger, redder than usual, its light staining the forest like spilled blood. Varine's warning echoed in her head. When the blood moon rises, destinies are sealed. Below, soldiers gathered around roaring fires, sharpening blades, strapping armor, murmuring prayers to gods who never answered. Seraphina's body ached from training, but her heart refused to rest. The mark beneath her skin had begun to throb again, faint but steady, as if something deep within her was stirring. Suddenly, the door creaked open behind her. "You shouldn't be alone tonight," Kyril said, stepping into the room. The moonlight caught the edges of his face, half man, half shadow. He looked tired, not from battle, but from something older, heavier. "The blood moon does strange things to wolves," he murmured, his voice rough like gravel. "It brings the truth out of our blood." Seraphina turned toward him, defiance still in her eyes. "Then maybe it'll tell me who I really am." He stared at her for a long moment before saying quietly, "Maybe it already has." They walked together through the moonlit corridors. The world outside drowned in crimson glow. The silence between them was heavy, but not empty. It hummed, alive with tension neither wanted to name. When they reached the war balcony, Kyril stopped. From there, the entire kingdom sprawled beneath them, black forest, silver rivers, flickers of torchlight like dying stars. "Long ago," he began, voice low, "the first alpha and his mate made a pact under the blood moon. Their souls were bound forever, one life, one death, one fate. That's how the Lunas were chosen." Seraphina frowned. "You think that's what this mark means?" Kyril turned to face her, his eyes glowing faintly gold. "No, this mark is older. I can feel it in my bones. You didn't just break my chains. You broke the curse that bound my wolf. That power didn't come from chance." The wind rose, tugging at her hair. "Then where did it come from?" she asked. Kyril stepped closer, the moonlight drawing gold fire into his irises. "You, Seraphina. It came from you." Her breath caught. "That's impossible." He smiled faintly, but there was no humor in it. "Impossible things tend to happen around you." He lifted her wrist again, and the mark glowed, pulsing brighter under the blood moon's light. This time, she felt something more. Not pain, not warmth, but a memory that wasn't hers. A woman's scream, fire, chains breaking, a wolf's howl that shook the earth. She stumbled, gasping, and Kyril caught her by the shoulders. "What did you see?" he demanded. "A woman," she whispered. "Her eyes were gold like yours. She was burning." His jaw tightened, every muscle in his body freezing for a heartbeat. "You saw my mother," he said softly. "The night she died, the curse was born. She was the first Louna to bleed under silver." The confession hung between them, heavy as stone. "And now you carry the same power she did?" Seraphina's stomach twisted. "You're saying I'm—" "Her blood's echo," he finished. "You are the key to what she began, and what I must end." The mark flared again, bright as flame. Before Seraphina could respond, a distant horn blared, low, mournful, like the call of an ancient beast. The southern packs had arrived. Cairo's head snapped toward the sound, every trace of calm vanishing. "They're early," he growled. "Of course they are." Verine's voice rang from the stairs. She appeared, armor gleaming red under the moon. "They move under the blood moon's blessing. They believe the king still bears the curse." Her eyes flicked to Seraphina, "And they think killing her will break it." Cairo's wolf surged to the surface. His aura darkened, his fangs lengthening for a flash. "No one touches her." The command rolled like thunder through the hall, vibrating the air itself. Verine nodded once. "Then we fight." In moments, the castle roared to life, armor clattering, battle cries echoing through the night. Seraphina stood frozen for a moment, heart racing. She had seen war before, but never like this. Never with her own life tied to the heart of the storm. Cairo turned to her, his expression unreadable. "Stay near me," he said. "Whatever happens tonight, don't run." The first wave hit before dawn. Arrows rained from the trees, wolves tore through the gates, and the ground trembled beneath their howls. Cairo met them head on, shifting mid-leap, his wolf form vast and silver, eyes glowing like molten gold. The sight stole Seraphina's breath. He was power incarnate, fury and grace bound together. But the moment his claws met flesh, her mark ignited, burning with his rage, his pain, his hunger. She could feel every strike, every wound. She fell to her knees, clutching her arm, gasping as if his heartbeat thundered inside her. "Louna!" someone shouted. Verine, pulling her up, dragging her toward safety. "You can't stay here." But Seraphina looked toward the battlefield, where Cairo was surrounded, his body a blur of silver and blood. Something inside her broke. She tore free from Verine's grasp, sprinting through the chaos, arrows slicing the air around her. The world blurred, smoke, screams, moonlight, until she reached him. One of the southern alphas lunged, blade raised. Seraphina didn't think. She threw herself forward, intercepting the strike meant for Cairo. Pain exploded through her chest. The last thing she saw before darkness swallowed her was Cairo's golden eyes, wide, furious, terrified, and the sound of his roar shaking the heavens. Blood. The scent of it filled the air like smoke from a burning forest. Cairo knelt beside Seraphina's body, his hands pressed against the wound in her chest. The battle raged around them, steel clashing, wolves howling, but he couldn't hear any of it. The world had gone silent. Her blood coated his fingers, warm and real, her breath shallow, fading. The mark on her wrist glowed faintly, flickering like a dying ember. No. The word wasn't a thought, it was a command, an instinct older than life itself. His wolf rose inside him, furious, wild, untamed. "Stay with me," he growled, his voice trembling with desperation, but her eyes fluttered shut. Something snapped. Aurora tore through Cairo's throat, deep and primal, shattering the air. Every soldier, friend and foe alike, froze. The moon turned redder, the ground cracked beneath him, and his aura exploded outward in a storm of gold fire. The chains that once held his curse ignited again, not as bindings, but as weapons. Cairo's transformation was unlike anything the world had seen in centuries. His wolf form surged with light, fur shimmering like molten silver, eyes burning like the heart of the sun. Each movement sent shockwaves through the earth. The southern alphas fell back, terror flooding their ranks. "He's not supposed to exist," one shouted. "That's the true Alpha." They were right. The true Alpha, a legend born from rage and love, the form no king dared awaken. Every strike of Cairo's claws tore through armor and spell alike, his roar splitting the night sky. Yet through the fury, his mind clung to one image: Seraphina, pale and motionless beneath the moon. The bond mark seared across his wrist, glowing brighter with every heartbeat she lost. He could feel her slipping, not just dying, but being pulled away. "No!" he roared again, his voice echoing through the mountains. He tore through the last of the attackers until silence fell. Bodies littered the courtyard, the fires of war dying one by one. And then, without a word, he fell to his knees beside her once more. The power inside him still raged, demanding destruction, but he forced it down. His hands shook as he lifted her head, pressing his forehead against hers. "You can't leave me," he whispered, the words breaking on his tongue. "Not you." The mark pulsed between them, golden threads of light weaving from his wrist to hers. His wolf growled low, urging him to act, not as a king, but as a mate. "Then take her life," it whispered through his mind. "Share your fire." Cairo closed his eyes. He had sworn never to use that power again. The last time he did, his mother died. But now, with Seraphina's pulse fading, his heart made the choice his mind couldn't. He bit his own wrist, drawing blood, then pressed it to her wound. "By moon and fire," he swore, voice shaking, "my life for hers." The mark flared, white hot, and the world seemed to stop. Wind roared through the courtyard, lifting dust and ash into a storm of light. The blood moon above shimmered gold, and Seraphina gasped, her body arching as the light poured into her chest. When her eyes opened, they glowed. Not gold like his, but a blinding white, the color of lightning. The bond mark had spread, curling up her arm like living fire. Cairo stumbled back, breathless, watching as the power he'd given her fused with her own. For a heartbeat, she hovered between worlds, wolf and flame, death and rebirth. And then, the glow faded, and she fell forward into his arms, alive. "Seraphina," he breathed, pressing his forehead to hers. "You came back." She blinked slowly, confusion clouding her gaze. "What did you do?" "I gave you what was mine to give," he said softly. "My fire, my soul, my curse." Her heartbeat steadied beneath his hand, but now, when their eyes met, the mark between them pulsed in unison. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. "Now we're both cursed." He smiled faintly, though his eyes were heavy with exhaustion. "Then we'll carry it together." Around them, the night went still. The war had ended, but something deeper, something older, had just begun. By dawn, the battlefield was quiet. The southern wolves had fled, leaving the castle scarred, but standing. Varian found them sitting by the fountain, blood and ash still clinging to their skin. "It's over," she said quietly. "For now." Cairo didn't respond. His gaze was fixed on Seraphina, who sat beside him, staring at her reflection in the rippling water. The mark on her wrist shimmered faintly in the morning light, no longer just gold, but streaked with silver. "You changed it. You changed me," she said softly. Cairo looked away, guilt flickering across his face. "I didn't mean to. The bond chose for us." She turned to him, eyes sharp. "Then tell me the truth, Cairo. What happens next?" He hesitated, for the first time truly unsure. When two souls merge under the blood moon, the bond doesn't stop at life. It grows, it evolves, and if we don't control it, he trailed off. It consumes. Seraphina's pulse quickened, fear, and something else twisting inside her. "Then we learn," she said finally, "together." As the first light of morning kissed the broken towers, the new Alpha King and his unwilling Luna stood side by side, bound by blood, fire, and a destiny neither of them could escape. The castle slept uneasily that night. The fires had died, but the air still hummed with the residue of magic and blood. Serafina lay awake, staring at the ceiling above the royal chamber, its ancient carvings now flickering with faint, golden light. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw flashes of him. Cairo's memories like broken glass in her mind. A woman screaming under moonlight. Chains forged from silver. A young boy kneeling before a grave of ashes. She sat up, clutching her head. "Stop," she whispered to no one, her breath quick and uneven. But the bond didn't listen. It pulsed like a heartbeat, burning through her veins. She stumbled to the mirror across the room. Her reflection looked back, wild, frightened, different. The mark on her wrist had spread overnight, curling across her collarbone in faint, glowing veins. "What did you do to me?" she whispered to the air, though she already knew the answer. When the door opens behind her, she didn't turn. She could feel him there. His presence was now an extension of her own heartbeat. "You're in my head," she said quietly. "I can see what you've seen." His voice came low, regretful. "It's the curse, Serafina. Our souls are no longer separate." Cairo stood by the doorway, his shadow long against the flickering candlelight. For the first time since the war, he looked afraid. "It shouldn't have happened this soon," he said. "The bond is unstable. It's feeding on my past." Serafina turned to face him, anger flaring through the fear. "Your past? You mean the nightmares that nearly killed me in my sleep?" He didn't deny it. "You weren't supposed to see them." "I saw everything," she snapped, voice trembling. "Your mother, the chains, the fire. You were a child." Silence stretched between them. He stepped closer, slow, measured. "She was taken because of me, because of what I am." His eyes dropped to the floor. The true alpha curse wasn't meant to be passed on, but she refused to let them kill me, so she bound it to herself. His voice cracked. "She died so I could live." Serafina's anger softened, replaced by something quieter. "And now you've done the same." He looked up sharply. "No, I won't lose myself again." But even as he said it, she could see the fear behind his gold eyes, the fear that history was already repeating. By dawn, Serafina had stopped fighting the visions. Instead, she listened to them. The bond had a rhythm, like waves, pain coming and going in surges. Every memory she saw wasn't random. It was showing her how he became what he was. A boy forced to kneel before elders who called him a monster. A young man watching his father's warriors burn. The night he took the crown, drenched in blood and sorrow. It wasn't just violence. It was loneliness carved into every heartbeat. And now, that loneliness lived inside her too. When Cairo returned that morning, she didn't turn away. "I saw it all," she said softly. "You've carried this pain alone for years." His jaw tightened. "It's not pain, it's duty." "No," she said, stepping closer. "It's guilt. You think every death is your fault, even mine." He froze, the words hitting deeper than she knew. "Don't pretend to understand me," he warned, voice sharp. But his eyes betrayed him. For the first time, she didn't see a king. She saw a man, terrified of love because it always cost him everything. That night, as storms rolled across the mountains, the bond grew restless again. Serafina could feel his heartbeat in her chest, his thoughts whispering through her mind. The pull between them was constant, magnetic, painful. She went to the balcony, letting the rain soak through her thin nightgown, thunder echoing in the distance. "You can't keep pushing me away," she said to the night. "We're already one soul." Cairo appeared behind her, silent as the storm. "You don't understand what that means." "Then teach me," she shot back, turning to face him. "Or are you too afraid I'll see who you really are?" His hands clenched at his sides. "You want the truth? The curse doesn't just connect us. It feeds on emotion. The stronger the bond, the hungrier it becomes. If we give in—" He stopped, struggling for words. "It takes everything. Our power, our control, our minds." Lightning flashed between them, illuminating the raw honesty in his face. "So what do we do?" she asked quietly. "We fight it," he said. "Together." For the first time, he reached for her hand, and the moment their skin touched, the mark blazed gold, casting light across the rain. That night changed something between them. The next morning, the castle felt different, calmer, though tension still hung like smoke. Serafina stood beside Cairo in the council chamber as reports of the southern retreat arrived. But she couldn't focus. Every time he spoke, she felt it, the echo of his voice resonating through her soul. It wasn't love yet, but something deeper, something older. After the meeting, he turned to her. "You shouldn't be here," he said, but his tone lacked command. "I'm your Luna," she replied. "Where else would I be?" He didn't answer, only looked at her, the faintest smile ghosting his lips. But as she turned to leave, a shadow passed across his expression. "Serafina," he said softly, "if the curse keeps spreading, you'll start seeing not just my memories, but my future." She paused, unease prickling her skin. "And what's in your future, Cairo?" He met her eyes. "Death. Mine or yours? Maybe both." The words hung in the air like thunder, and for the first time since their bond began, Serafina realized love wasn't the only force pulling them together. Fate was too. The moon was full again. Its silver light spilled through the shattered windows of the castle, bathing the stone halls in an ethereal glow. Serafina could feel it, a pulse deep inside her chest, matching Cairo's heartbeat. It wasn't gentle anymore. It was fierce, demanding. She pressed a hand against her wrist, where the bond mark shimmered beneath her skin. It was hotter tonight, burning like liquid fire. "It's the pull," Vayreen had warned earlier. "When the moon rises high, your souls will crave each other's presence. It's how the curse feeds." Serafina had laughed it off then, pretending she could resist it. But now, as she wandered the dim corridors, she realized resistance was a lie. Her breath hitched when she reached the balcony. Cairo stood there, shirtless under the moonlight, his back to her, muscles tense, the mark on his own wrist glowing faintly gold. "You shouldn't be here," he said without turning. His voice was low, strained. "The bond's unstable tonight." She took a slow step closer, her bare feet silent on the cold stone. "Then tell me to leave," she whispered. He said nothing. The wind carried her scent to him, and his control fractured. Cairo turned. His eyes, once bright gold, now burned deeper, molten, feral. The wolf inside him was close to the surface, fighting the man for dominance. "Serafina," he said, her name more like a growl than a word. "You don't understand what this moon does to me." She didn't back away. "Then let me understand." The air between them thickened, heavy with unspoken emotion. He clenched his fists. "You think this is desire? It's the curse. It wants to merge us completely." She tilted her head, searching his eyes. "And what do you want?" His breath came rough. "I want you safe from me." But even as he said it, his body betrayed him, stepping closer. Their marks pulsed, brighter now, the golden threads of their bond visible in the moonlight. The air shimmered with energy, like heat on glass. "If we touch," he warned. "Then the curse wins?" she asked. "No," he said, his voice breaking. "Then I do." For a moment, neither moved, until the wind shifted and lightning flashed, and his hand reached out, trembling, to touch her face. The bond surged, a wave of warmth that sent them both to their knees. Visions exploded in her mind, his heartbeat, his pain, his longing, all crashing through her senses like a storm. The bond wasn't just burning now, it was alive. She saw flashes of the past and future intertwining, a silver crown melting, a wolf howling under blood rain, her own reflection crying out his name. Cairo tried to pull away, but her hands gripped his arms. "Don't fight it," she gasped. "We're already one." "You don't know what you're saying," he growled. "It's not love, Serafina. It's survival. The curse is tricking us." "Maybe," she whispered, her forehead pressed to his. "But if it's a lie, then let's live in it for tonight." The glow between them flared, the mark on their wrists intertwining in light until they looked like one. The power was overwhelming, beautiful and terrifying. Then suddenly, pain shot through both of them. Serafina screamed, the light bursting from her chest. Cairo caught her as she fell, his body shaking from the same agony. "It's feeding. It's taking everything," he gasped. In the chaos, the curse revealed something neither expected, a vision of a shadowed figure holding chains, whispering her name. When the light faded, Serafina lay in his arms, trembling. The moon above them dimmed, as if afraid of what it had witnessed. "What was that?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. Cairo looked shaken, his eyes wide with something close to fear. "Someone's controlling the curse," he said. "Someone bound it before us." Serafina's pulse quickened. "Then that voice wasn't just in your head." He helped her stand, their bodies still trembling from the bond's aftermath. "Who would do this? Who could?" "Only a witch powerful enough to bind wolves to fate. And there's only one who ever could." His expression darkened. "The silver enchantress." Serafina frowned. "But she's a myth." "So was I," he said grimly. The storm outside raged harder, wind howling through the broken halls. "If she's alive, then this curse was never meant to bind us. It was meant to break me." His words hung heavy. "Then we find her," Serafina said, her voice steadier now, "and we make her undo it." Cairo looked at her, the defiant fire in her eyes, and felt something shift. "You'd risk everything for me?" "Not for you," she said quietly. "For us." By dawn, their decision was made. The Alpha King and his Louna would leave the castle and hunt the witch who cursed their bond. The council protested. "It's suicide," Vayreen had warned, but neither listened. There was no other way. The bond had changed them both. Serafina could now sense his emotions like her own. His pain became hers, his rage, her heartbeat. And though neither admitted it aloud, something deeper than duty now connected them. As they rode out from the fortress gates, mist curling around the path ahead, Serafina glanced at him. "Do you think she'll undo it willingly?" He didn't answer right away. "No," he said finally. "But she'll try to finish what she started." The forest swallowed them in silence, the morning sun struggling to break through the dark canopy. The mark on their wrists glowed faintly with each heartbeat. "Cairo," Serafina said after a moment, "what if breaking the curse means breaking us?" He looked at her, his eyes heavy with truth. "Then we'll burn together." The wind howled behind them as the last of the castle disappeared from view, and ahead, unseen, a pair of silver eyes watched their every move. The forest greeted them with silence, not the kind that felt peaceful, the kind that felt watched. Mist crawled along the ground like living smoke, and every tree seemed to breathe. The deeper they rode, the dimmer the light became, until the sun was just a faint memory behind the canopy. "This is it," Cairo murmured, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. "The forest of silver eyes." Seraphina's gaze darted upward. Dozens of eyes blinked from the branches. Not human, not animal, just watchers. "They're illusions," Cairo said quickly. "Don't look too long." She tried to listen, but curiosity betrayed her. One of the eyes reflected her own face, and for a heartbeat, she saw something else behind it. A woman in a silver cloak, smiling. "Welcome, my cursed children." The voice wasn't spoken aloud. It slithered straight into her thoughts. "She's here," Seraphina whispered. Cairo stiffened. "Don't answer her. The forest feeds on acknowledgement." But it was too late. The mist thickened, and the path ahead dissolved. When Seraphina looked down, her horse had vanished, and she stood alone among the trees. Her heart pounded. "Cairo?" Silence. The forest had swallowed him whole. Seraphina spun in place, her breath forming small white clouds in the cold air. The trees had shifted. They were closer now, their roots curling like skeletal hands. Panic rose in her throat. "Cairo!" she shouted again, her voice echoing endlessly, like the forest was mocking her. Then through the fog, she saw him, or what looked like him. Standing beneath a twisted willow, golden eyes glowing faintly. "You found me," she breathed, rushing forward. But as she reached him, his expression twisted. "Did I?" he said, voice wrong, too smooth, too sweet. She froze. His face flickered, then changed. Now it was her own face staring back, smiling coldly. "You think you're his savior?" the reflection taunted. "You're just his chain." Seraphina stumbled back, shaking her head. "You're not real." "Real?" the doppelganger whispered, stepping closer. "I'm the part of you that knows the truth, that without him, you're nothing." A scream tore through the woods. Cairo's. The illusion vanished, and Seraphina ran toward the sound, branches clawing her skin. Her blood hit the roots, and the forest drank it greedily. The silver eyes followed her, whispering her name with every step. Cairo was on his knees when she found him. His claws had torn deep gouges into the soil, his body trembling under invisible weight. "Get back," he shouted, eyes wild. "It's inside my head." The air around him shimmered with visions, hundreds of them, ghosts of his past, his mother burning, his warriors begging for mercy, his younger self chained and screaming. "They're not real," Seraphina yelled, trying to reach him. But when she touched his arm, the world shattered. Suddenly she was inside his memory, the night of his first transformation. Pain rippled through her body like fire, her bones cracking, her voice merging with his howl. "Stop!" she screamed, forcing her mind to separate. The illusion broke like glass, and they both fell to the ground gasping. The forest quieted, almost amused. "She's testing us," Cairo said through clenched teeth. "The witch wants to see how far we'll go before breaking." Seraphina's pulse thundered in her ears. "Then we don't give her the satisfaction." She gripped his hand. The mark between them flared faintly, gold light pulsing through the mist. For the first time, the eyes above blinked and looked away. They moved together after that, slow, careful, every step measured. The forest whispered lies at every turn, Seraphina hearing Cairo call her a mistake, Cairo seeing her walk away, but the bond burned steady, keeping them anchored. At last they reached a clearing where the mist swirled in a perfect circle. At its center stood a stone arch, carved with runes glowing faint silver. "The entrance," Cairo said. "Beyond that lies her domain." Seraphina stepped closer, feeling the energy hum against her skin. It was cold and familiar, like the mark on her wrist before it flared. "She's waiting," she said. "She wants us to enter."
and she wants us afraid. So we walk in without fear. But before they could move, the mist collapsed, forming a figure in the archway. A woman with hair like spun moonlight and eyes the color of mercury. Her smile was beautiful and cruel all at once. "You've come far, my cursed king," she said, her voice both near and everywhere. "And you brought her. The vessel." Seraphina stiffened. "Vessel?" The witch's smile deepened. "Oh, my sweet child, did he never tell you what you truly are?" Cairo's hand shot out, gripping Seraphina's wrist. "Don't listen to her." But the witch only laughed, a sound like bells breaking. "You didn't tell her, did you?" she cooed. "That she wasn't chosen by fate. She was made by it." Seraphina's heart stopped. "What does that mean?" "It means," the witch said, stepping forward until her face was inches from Seraphina's, "that you were never meant to be Louna. You were meant to be the curse itself, the vessel that carries my binding." The mark on Seraphina's wrist burnt so hot she cried out. Cairo moved to strike, his claws ignited with light. But the witch vanished, her laughter echoing through the forest. "Find me if you can, Alpha King. But when you do, she won't be yours anymore." The mist exploded, throwing them apart. Seraphina hit the ground, gasping as her mark flared hot. In that instant, a memory not her own flashed before her eyes. The witch's memory, hands binding something ancient inside a newborn girl. Her. When the light dimmed, Cairo crawled toward her, eyes wide. "Seraphina, what did she do?" She met his gaze, trembling. "She didn't curse us, Cairo." A tear rolled down her cheek. "She cursed me."
Seraphina awoke to the smell of smoke and iron. Her vision blurred, her head heavy, and for a moment she couldn't tell if she was still dreaming. The forest had gone silent again, but not dead. It was listening. Cairo knelt beside her, blood streaking down his temple. "You're hurt," he said softly. She tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. The mark on her wrist still burned, white light pulsing beneath her skin like something alive. "She said I was made for this," Seraphina whispered, her voice shaking. "What did she mean?" Cairo hesitated, jaw tightening. "She lies," he said. "That's what witches do." But she wasn't convinced, because deep down, she could feel it. Something inside her had shifted. The forest no longer frightened her, it obeyed her. The mist rippled when she breathed. "Cairo," she said slowly, her gaze distant. "What if she's not lying?" He stood, his expression unreadable. "Then I failed you." "Failed me?" "Because I should have known." His voice broke. "I felt the magic in you the day I met you. I just didn't want to believe it." Her heart stuttered. "Believe what?" Cairo turned toward her, eyes dark with guilt. "That the witch made you from my mother's blood." The words hit her like a blade. "What?" she breathed. Cairo's eyes flickered with torment. "It was before my reign. The silver enchantress came to my father's court. She promised to end the curse that killed our bloodline, to create a vessel strong enough to hold the alpha fire without dying from it." His voice trembled. "But the ritual failed. My mother died protecting me. I thought the witch vanished afterward." He looked at her, his voice raw. "Until you appeared." Seraphina shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. No, that's not possible. I had a family. I was born in the human world." "And yet your blood awakened mine," Cairo said. "The bond chose you before we even met. Don't you see? You weren't born by chance. You were placed." Her breathing quickened. "So I'm just, what, a tool? A spell wrapped in skin?" "No," he said quickly, stepping closer. "You're more than that. The witch may have made you, but what you've become, your choices, your courage, that's yours. But she backed away. You say that now, but everything between us, the bond, the fire, it was all designed. None of it's real. Her scream echoed through the trees, and the forest trembled in response. The mist around them thickened again, glowing faintly silver. From within it, shapes began to emerge. Memories, but not hers. A child wrapped in silver cloth, the witch chanting over a pool of moonlight, blood dripping into water that reflected Cairo's eyes. She wanted control, Cairo said, bitterly. The silver enchantress tried to recreate what my mother destroyed, the power to bind the true alpha line forever. The visions shifted again, showing the witch lifting the infant toward the moon. When he loves her, the curse will return. Serafina gasped, clutching her chest as pain shot through her heart. She used me to bring it back. The curse isn't between us, Cairo. I am the curse. The bond flared, reacting to her anguish. Trees splintered, roots tore free from the ground. Cairo grabbed her arms, his voice urgent. Listen to me. You're not her weapon. You're my mate. No, she cried. If you love me, you'll destroy me before she does. The mark on her wrist burned brighter, white fire crawling up her arm. Cairo pulled her close, forcing her to meet his eyes. I already lost a woman who carried my curse, he said through clenched teeth. I won't lose another. The forest erupted around them, reacting to her despair. Silver eyes blinked from every branch, whispering her name in thousands of voices. Serafina, Serafina, vessel, vessel. She covered her ears, falling to her knees. Make it stop! Cairo dropped beside her, his hands on her shoulders. You have to take control of it. It's responding to your fear. I can't, she sobbed. It's too strong. He gripped her chin, forcing her to look up at him. Then use mine. He pressed his wrist against hers. The marks connected, gold and white light intertwining like living flame. Their bond exploded in brilliance, flooding the forest with light so bright that it blinded even the eyes in the trees. The whispers turned into screams. The witch's voice pierced the air. Foolish king, you think you can merge with what I own? Cairo roared back. She doesn't belong to you. His power surged through the bond, golden fire meeting her silver light. For the first time, Serafina saw it, not as a curse, but as connection. The light stabilized, and the forest fell silent. But when she looked into Cairo's eyes, something was wrong. His pupils had turned completely gold. Cairo, she whispered. He didn't answer. His body trembled and then went still. Cairo! She shook him, panic rising in her chest. His eyes glowed faintly, unfocused, his lips moving soundlessly. No! No! Stay with me! She pleaded. Then she heard it again, the witch's laughter echoing from the trees. The bond is complete, she whispered, her voice like silk and venom. He gave you everything, didn't he? His power, his fire, even his will. Serafina's heart stuttered. What did you do to him? Nothing he didn't do himself. To save you, he let me in. The mist swirled violently, forming the witch's face above them. Now he burns, and through him I live. Serafina's rage ignited. She rose slowly, her mark glowing so bright it scorched the ground beneath her feet. Then you made a mistake, she said, her voice no longer trembling. Because if you live through him, then I'll kill you through me. With a scream that shook the forest to its roots, Serafina unleashed her power.
silver and gold light merging into one blinding surge. The witch's face shattered into smoke, her laughter twisting into a snarl. Cairo's body collapsed, his pulse weak, but present. As the light faded, Serafina knelt beside him, tears streaking her cheeks. "You saved me. Now, I'll save you." And somewhere in the distance, under the dying moonlight, the silver enchantress whispered, "Let's see if love can outlast destiny."
The forest was dead quiet. The only sound left was Serafina's heartbeat, slow, uneven, breaking apart with every breath. Cairo's body lay limp in her arms, his golden eyes closed, his skin cold, but glowing faintly beneath the moonlight. "You're not gone," she whispered, pressing her forehead to his. "You can't be." The ground beneath her shimmered, reacting to her desperation. The bond mark pulsed once, twice, and then split into two colors, half gold, half silver. The witch's words replayed in her mind. "He gave you everything, even his will." A tremor ran through her. If that was true, then his soul wasn't dead. It was trapped. She looked around the silent clearing, her tears mixing with rain that had begun to fall from a starless sky. "If you can hear me," she said softly, "show me the way." The mark on her wrist flared white, blinding her. When she opened her eyes again, the forest was gone. She stood on a silver plain that stretched infinitely beneath a red moon. Shadows drifted through the air like smoke. "Cairo," she called. Her voice echoed endlessly. Then she heard it, faint but familiar. A heartbeat. His heartbeat. It came from beyond the horizon, calling to her through the dark. The spirit realm was colder than death. Each step she took left a trail of light behind her, like a candle flame walking through darkness. Ghostly figures floated past, some weeping, some whispering, all staring with hollow eyes. "You shouldn't be here," one said in a voice that wasn't human. Serafina ignored it and kept walking, following the heartbeat that grew louder with each breath. Ahead, a silver bridge appeared, suspended over an endless abyss. At its center stood a figure, tall, cloaked in gold fire. "Cairo," she cried, running forward, but when he turned, her steps faltered. It wasn't him, not entirely. His eyes were golden, yes, but empty. His face expressionless, cold. "You shouldn't have come," he said flatly. "This place doesn't forgive." "Neither do I," she snapped. "You gave yourself to save me. Now I'm here to bring you back." His hand lifted and the realm trembled. "If you try to take me, you'll break the bond. And when that happens, we'll both die." She took another step. "Then we'll die together." For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Pain or maybe love. "You always were stubborn," he murmured. "That's what I loved most about you." A flash of lightning ripped across the crimson sky, and suddenly everything shifted. The silver plain melted into memories. She was standing in the packed courtyard again, the night she first saw him chained, half wolf, half man, bleeding under silver restraints. "Your body drives me insane," he had growled that night. But now those same words echoed like a curse. "Your body drives me insane," the spirit Cairo said again, stepping closer. "Because it's made to destroy mine." She flinched. "No, that's the witch's voice. That's not you." "It's the truth," he said coldly. "You were created from her blood to end the alpha line. You were never meant to love me. You were meant to unmake me." She clenched her fists, tears streaming down her face. "Then why does it hurt this much to lose you?" she cried. "Why do I feel this if I was never meant to?" His expression flickered again and the gold flame around him weakened.
Because even curses learn how to feel, he whispered. She reached for him, and for a heartbeat their fingers touched. The world around them cracked like glass, and the witch's laughter echoed through the sky. Touch him again, and he'll vanish forever. Serafina froze, her heart pounding. The witch appeared behind Cairo, her form tall, draped in silver smoke, eyes glinting with malice. You've done enough damage, girl. You can't save him. His fire burns here now. It's mine. You're wrong, Serafina said, her voice shaking but steady. He gave it to me. She raised her wrist. The mark glowed bright, silver and gold intertwining like fire and moonlight. The witch recoiled slightly, her smile fading. You think love can break what's written in blood? Serafina's eyes filled with tears. Love didn't make me, but it's the only thing that's real about me. She pressed her glowing wrist to Cairo's chest. The witch screamed as the light burst outward, filling the realm. For a moment, everything disappeared. The bridge, the abyss, even the witch's voice. Only the heartbeat remained. When the light dimmed, Cairo was standing in front of her again, this time alive, eyes clear, no fire, no curse. You found me, he whispered. She smiled weakly. You're terrible at staying dead. But before she could breathe, a sharp pain tore through her chest. She looked down. The witch's silver hand had pierced through her heart. Serafina gasped, her vision blurring. The witch's voice echoed coldly. Balance, my dear. One life for another. Cairo roared, catching Serafina as she fell. No, take me instead. But the witch only smiled. You already gave yourself once. The bond won't allow it again. The spirit realm trembled violently, cracks of light splitting the ground. You can't have her, Cairo growled. She's mine. No, Serafina whispered weakly, clutching his hand. I'm yours because you gave me that choice. And now I'm giving it back. She pressed her palm against his chest, transferring the last of her power into him. Golden light spread through his body, burning the witch's shadow to ash. No! The witch screamed as her form disintegrated. Cairo caught Serafina as she collapsed completely, her body glowing faintly. Stay with me, he pleaded. Her lips curved in the finest smile. You once told me my body drove you insane. Her voice faded. Now let my soul drive you home. The spirit realm shattered. When Cairo opened his eyes again, he was kneeling in the real forest, rain falling, dawn breaking. But Serafina was gone. Only her silver mark remained on his wrist, pulsing gently, like a promise not yet broken.
The rain stopped hours ago, but the forest still wept. Drops slid from leaf to leaf, falling in slow rhythm onto the motionless body of the Alpha King. Cairo sat beneath a great oak, his eyes half closed, arms wrapped around nothing, because the one thing he'd sworn to protect had vanished with the sunrise. The ground where Serafina had stood was marked by a faint ring of silver light, like the last echo of her power. His wrist still burned where her mark had fused into his skin, but he couldn't bring himself to look at it. The pack found him there at dawn. They approached quietly, heads bowed, none daring to speak. Their king was alive, but something vital in him was not. Elder Lyron stepped forward, voice trembling. My king, the storm has passed. The witch's presence is gone. Cairo didn't respond. He simply stared at the horizon, where the first golden rays touched the trees. She gave me this sunrise, and now I have to live inside it. His voice was hollow, the sound of a man still halfway inside another world. When Lyron reached out to guide him back to camp, Cairo stood on his own, towering, regal, but his shadow looked like it belonged to a ghost. The days that followed blurred together. The kingdom rebuilt slowly, but the silence in its halls was unbearable. Servants whispered that the Alpha King no longer slept. Some said he roamed the woods each night, searching for a light that never appeared. Others claimed they'd seen him kneel before the Silver Lake, talking to the reflection that wasn't there. The council begged him to take a Louna, to secure the pack's bloodline, but he refused, his tone cold as winter. "The Louna has already been chosen," he said, "and she waits beyond what you can see." They thought grief had broken him. In truth, it had tempered him. His power had changed, his aura no longer gold, but a strange shimmer of gold laced with silver. The wolves under his command felt it too. His howl could silence storms. His eyes could make even rogue alphas bow in fear. Yet behind all that strength, he carried a secret ache that never dulled. Every full moon he went alone to the ridge where Seraphina's mark had burned into the earth, whispering her name into the wind. "You said your soul would drive me home," he murmured one night. "Then why do I still feel lost?" The wind answered with only silence, and the faint scent of her lavender hair. It was on the 7th night of the silver moon that something changed. Cairo stood at the edge of the river, the same one that once reflected their intertwined marks. He almost stopped hoping, but as the moon rose, its reflection began to ripple, not from the wind, but from within the water. A faint, luminous glow appeared beneath the surface, expanding until it formed the shape of a hand. Cairo's breath caught. "Seraphina," he whispered. The hand reached upward, its light trembling. He dropped to his knees, plunging his arm into the freezing current. The moment his skin touched the light, his mark ignited, silver and gold flames swirling together like a heartbeat. The water stilled, and her voice, soft and distant, filled the air. "Cairo!" It was barely more than a whisper, but it broke him open. "Where are you?" he pleaded. "Tell me how to find you." "Between the realms," she said, faintly. "The bond didn't break. It changed. I'm not gone, just hidden." The light flickered, fading. "No!" he shouted. "Don't go." Her voice softened again. "To find me, you must break what's left of the curse. The answer lies where my blood began." Then the river went dark, leaving him alone, but for the first time since her death, his eyes burned with purpose. Cairo rolled through the night, guided by the whisper of her last words. "Where my blood began." The phrase repeated like a drumbeat in his mind, pulling him deeper into the ancient lands north of the kingdom. Few dared venture there, the territory where the Silver Enchantress had once ruled. The mountains were steep, the air sharp and bitter, but Cairo didn't stop. By dawn, he reached the ruins of a forgotten temple, half buried in frost. The walls shimmered faintly with runes that pulsed silver in the light. He dismounted, stepping onto the cracked floor. The moment his boots touched the stone, his mark on his wrist began to throb, pulling him toward the altar at the center. There, carved into ancient marble, was a single phrase: "Blood made by moonlight cannot die beneath it." Cairo traced the words, realization dawning. The witch hadn't destroyed Seraphina's soul. She had bound it to the cycle of the moon. Every full silver moon, her essence would stir, trapped between the living and the spirit realm. "Then I'll bring the moon down myself," he said through gritted teeth. His power surged, the air crackling around him. "You gave me the fire, Seraphina. Now I'll use it to burn the curse away." That night, the pack watched from the cliffs as their king stood alone before the ancient temple. He lifted his hands to the sky, his mark blazing brighter than ever. The silver clouds parted, revealing the full moon, vast and cold. "By blood, by bond, by love that defied the gods, I call what was stolen." The ground trembled, the moonlight turned gold. A column of light struck the temple,
engulfing him completely. The wolves howled in unison, sensing their alpha's pain, their loyalty anchoring him to the earth. And then silence. When the light faded, Cairo knelt in the ash, his body trembling, smoke rising from his skin. Around him, the ruins were gone. In their place stood a single silver feather, glowing faintly with Seraphina's light. He picked it up, clutching it to his chest, his voice breaking. "I'll find you," he whispered, "even if it kills me." The feather pulsed once, like a heartbeat, before going still. He looked to the horizon, where the first golden rays touched the trees. For the first time since her death, Cairo smiled, not because he had hope, but because he had a direction. And somewhere far beyond that sunrise, a soft voice whispered, "Then come find me, my alpha."
The feather glowed faintly in Cairo's hand, pulsing like a living thing. Every beat matched the rhythm of his heart, as if it were guiding him, whispering through light instead of words. The pack begged him not to go. The elders said the mountains beyond the Silver Ridge were forbidden, cursed lands where no wolf returned whole. But Cairo was no longer just a wolf. He was half spirit now, half flame, and the silver thread of Seraphina's essence pulled him onward. At dawn, he set out alone, the feather tucked against his chest. Frost covered the trees, glistening beneath the pale moon. As he walked, he saw faint images flicker in the mist. Seraphina's face, her eyes filled with warmth. "You shouldn't be here," her voice echoed faintly. "You're risking everything. Everything died when you did. Now I'm just collecting the pieces." The ground trembled, the wind howling through the canyon ahead. He reached a vast gorge, its depths shimmering with ghostly light. At its center stood an arch of stone shaped like a crescent moon. The feather's glow intensified, pointing toward it. "So this is where she's buried," he whispered. But as he stepped closer, a voice from the darkness hissed, low, venomous, familiar. "She's not buried, Alpha King. She's bound." Carols spun, claws extended, eyes glowing gold. From the mist emerged a woman, tall, cloaked in shadow and silver chains. Her face was hidden, but her voice made his blood run cold. "I warned you once not to tamper with my work," the silver enchantress said. "You destroyed the bond that kept your kind contained. You think love makes you stronger? It only makes you vulnerable." He stepped forward, rage and pain mixing in his voice. "You took everything from me, my mother, my mate, my peace." "I created everything you love," she countered smoothly. "Without me, you'd have no Luna to chase, no destiny to cry over." The feather in his hand flared violently, burning bright enough to make the witch recoil. "You don't understand what you made," Cairo growled. "You didn't create Seraphina, you summoned her. The moon answered you, not the curse." The witch laughed, a sound like glass breaking. "You think the moon gives life? Foolish boy, the moon only reflects what's already dead." The ground beneath them split open, revealing a pool of silver swirling like a mirror. "If you want her," she hissed, "then step inside and drown with her soul." Carol looked at the pool and without hesitation jumped. The world turned upside down. Cold bit into his skin as he sank deeper into the pool, his breath stolen by icy water that shimmered like stars. Then silence. He landed on his knees in a vast silver expanse. No ground, no sky, just endless light. Ahead of him stood a tree, massive, ancient, with roots that glowed white and branches stretching into infinity.
At its base lay a figure, Seraphina. She looked asleep, her hair floating like ink in water, her body wrapped in faint chains of light. "No," he whispered, stumbling toward her. "Not like this." He fell to his knees beside her, pressing his hand against her cheek. She was warm, alive, but trapped in timeless stillness. "I told you not to come," her voice whispered in his mind. "You'll only make it worse." "I don't care," he said out loud, his voice shaking. "You gave me everything, your life, your fire. Now I'll give you mine." He raised the glowing feather, pressing it to her chest. The silver chains hissed, reacting to his mark. "You can't," she said, her voice breaking. "If you free me, you'll break the moon's anchor. The world will tear apart." He smiled faintly. "Then let it burn. I only ever wanted you free." The feather began to dissolve, turning into streams of silver light that seeped into Seraphina's body. The ground quaked, the tree above them shuddering as light bled through every branch. The witch's voice screamed through the void, "Fool, you think you can sever my creation?" Cairo ignored her, pressing his forehead against Seraphina's. "Wake up," he whispered. "You told me your soul would drive me home. I followed every step. Now show me the way back." Her eyes fluttered open, glowing with the light of the moon itself. The chains shattered, scattering into dust. "Cairo," she whispered, reaching up to touch his face. "You shouldn't have come." "I always come," he said, tears streaking down his face. "Even death couldn't stop me." The witch screamed again, her form rising from the light, massive, monstrous, wings of shadow spreading wide. "Then die together as you were meant to." She plunged toward them, her claws aimed at Seraphina's heart, but Carol stepped between them, his body erupting in gold flame. The witch struck, and the explosion of power split the realm in two. When the light faded, the silver expanse was gone. Carol awoke on the forest floor, smoke curling around him. The moon above was blood red. Beside him lay Seraphina, alive, breathing, her hand wrapped around his. But the feather was gone. In its place, on his chest, burns a new mark, the crescent moon entwined with the alpha sigil. Seraphina stirred, her voice soft. "You broke the chain." "I brought you back," he replied weakly. "I told you I'd find you." She smiled faintly, tears shimmering in her eyes. "You did, but at what cost?" He looked up at the sky. The stars flickered uneasily, as if something far greater had been disturbed. "The witch's curse," she whispered. "It's not gone. You only trapped it inside you." Cairo exhaled slowly. "Then I'll carry it. As long as you're safe." She rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "And if it kills you?" "Then I'll die knowing I kept my promise." The moonlight dimmed, the forest silent again, but high above, in the shifting stars, a faint shadow lingered, watching, waiting. The silver enchantress wasn't gone. She was reborn. The first few days after Seraphina's return felt like a dream. The pack rejoiced, the forest healed, and for the first time in moons, laughter echoed through the halls of the Alpha stronghold. Cairo smiled again, his hands always reaching for hers, his eyes soft with something almost human. But there was something off in his smile, a flicker, a shadow behind the gold. At night, he would wake drenched in sweat,
gasping as if drowning. His dreams were filled with whispers, the witch's voice curling through his thoughts like smoke. You freed her. Now, free me. He hid it from Seraphina at first, not wanting her to see the tremor in his hands or the faint glow beneath his skin. But she noticed. One evening, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the moonlit valley, she touched his arm gently. Your mark, she whispered. It's changing. He looked down. The crescent moon that once gleamed silver was darkening, turning black at the edges. It's nothing, he said quickly, pulling away, but the lie trembled on his lips. She caught his wrist, eyes wide with fear. It's her, isn't it? He didn't answer, and that silence was all she needed to know. That night, the nightmares worsened. Cairo dreamt of the witch standing behind him, her voice soft as silk. You think you're free of me, she purred. You're my masterpiece, my vessel, my revenge. Through you, I'll live again. He tried to fight, to wake, but his limbs wouldn't move. His reflection in the mirror grinned back at him, but it wasn't his own. The witch's eyes glowed from within, silver and cruel. You can't run from what's inside you, she whispered. When he finally awoke, his bed was scorched, claw marks shredded through the stone wall. His body trembled, smoke rising from his skin. He stumbled into the courtyard, the cold air biting at him, and fell to his knees. Get out, he roared. The wolves nearby stopped in their tracks, their instincts screaming, but no one dared approach. Inside, Seraphina sensed his anguish, their bond pulsing with pain. She found him moments later, crouched in the dirt, shaking violently. Cairo, she cried, grabbing his face in her hands. His eyes flickered, gold to black, then back again. It's her, he rasped. She's clawing her way out. Seraphina pressed her forehead to his, then we'll fight her together. But as she spoke, he felt something twist deep inside him, a whisper of the witch's laughter curling around his heart. Together? Oh, my sweet Louna, he'll kill you before dawn. The following night, the curse bared its teeth. The pack had gathered under the silver moon to celebrate Seraphina's return, their voices lifted in song. But as the moon reached its peak, Cairo's mark flared black. His breath hitched, his pupils dilating until his eyes were nothing but darkness. The air grew heavy, electric. Wolves turned toward him instinctively, ears flat, tails low. Cairo, Seraphina whispered, stepping closer. It's me. He turned his head slowly, his voice no longer his own. You brought this upon yourself. The wind screamed as his aura exploded outward, a storm of gold and shadow. Trees splintered, the earth cracked, and the wolves scattered in terror. Seraphina reached for him, tears streaking her cheeks. Fight it, she begged. You're stronger than her. But he was gone, replaced by something ancient, something monstrous. The witch spoke through him now, her tone both mocking and mournful. He burned my name from the earth. Now I burn his in return. Her gaze fixed on Seraphina. Do you know why I chose you, little wolf? Seraphina trembled but stood her ground. Because you wanted to destroy him. The witch smiled through Cairo's lips. No, because only love can kill a god. Seraphina stepped forward, her hands glowing with silver light. If you think I'll let you take him, she said, voice breaking but fierce, you've forgotten who I am. She pressed her palm to his chest, her power surging through their bond. For a moment, Cairo's true self broke through. His eyes flashed gold again, his voice hoarse. Sarah, run. I'm not leaving you, she whispered. The witch screamed inside him, her voice like thunder. You can't have him. Cairo's body convulsed, torn between two souls. Seraphina clung to him, pouring every ounce of her strength into him. The silver light burned through his veins, fighting the blackness spreading from his mark. Remember me, she pleaded. Remember who you are.
He gasped, clutching her shoulders. For a heartbeat, his gaze cleared. I remember. I remember everything. Relief flooded her until his expression changed. His hand raised slowly, trembling, and wrapped around her throat. No, she whispered, tears filling her eyes. The witch's laughter filled the air. He remembers, my dear. That's why this hurts more. The bond flared violently, silver and black clashing until the sky itself seemed to shatter. Serafina couldn't breathe. Her fingers clawed at his arm as the darkness in his eyes deepened. Caro, she choked out. You're stronger than her. His grip tightened. Trembling. For a moment, she saw him fighting, his gold flickering beneath the black. Then his voice broke through, raw and desperate. Run, please, before I... But she didn't move. She cupped his face even as the air vanished from her lungs. I love you, and I'm not afraid of you. Her words hit him like a blade through the fog. The witch screamed in rage as Cairo's body convulsed, torn apart by the war inside him. Get out of me! He roared, his voice echoing across the valley. He let go, clutching his chest as the mark on his skin burst into flames, black fire turning gold. The witch's voice howled through the night, fading into nothingness. Cairo collapsed, barely breathing, the curse expelled but not destroyed. Serafina fell beside him, coughing, her throat bruised but her eyes shining. You fought her, she whispered. You chose me. He managed a faint smile. Always. But above them, the moon turned crimson, and in its reflection, a new shadow stirred. The curse wasn't gone. It had only changed its host, and this time, it had chosen her.
Serafina woke to silence, a heavy, unnatural quiet that pressed against her chest like a stone. Cairo lay beside her, breathing shallowly, his skin pale beneath the morning light. The silver mark that once bound him was gone, replaced by a faint golden shimmer, hers now. She reached for his hand, but froze. Beneath her skin, something pulsed, slow, rhythmic, wrong. The same dark rhythm she'd felt when the witch whispered through him. Her reflection in the window flickered. For a second, her eyes weren't her own. No, she whispered, stumbling back. No, no, no. A voice answered from inside her mind, soft, amused, venomous. You freed him. Now you belong to me. Serafina clutched her head, gasping, Get out! But the voice only laughed. I'm part of you now, Luna. You wanted his curse. Now wear it with pride. The air around her shimmered, silver light clashing with shadows. Cairo stirred at the noise, his eyes fluttering open. Sarah? He murmured, confusion in his tone. She turned to him, and for a heartbeat, the witch's voice slipped through her lips. You should have let me die. His eyes widened, horror blooming across his face. She fell to her knees, sobbing. It's not me. It's her. Cairo, she's inside me. The next few days were a nightmare of restraint and fear. The pack could sense it, their Luna scent shifting, her aura flickering between warmth and shadow. Cairo ordered everyone to keep their distance, though it tore him apart to do so. He stayed by her side every night, binding her wrists with enchanted silver, just in case the witch took control again. The irony wasn't lost on her. She, the girl who once broke his chains, now wore her own. It's safer this way, Cairo said softly one night, his voice trembling as he fastened the last clasp. If she speaks again, I'll know it's not you. Serafina looked at him, her heart breaking. And what if one day it is me? He didn't answer. His silence said everything. When he left the room, she turned toward the mirror.
Her reflection stared back, smiling. "He doesn't trust you," the witch murmured. "Soon he'll lock you away like the monster he feared I'd become." "You're lying," Serafina hissed. "Am I?" The reflection tilted its head. "You can feel it. His fear, his doubt, his guilt." Serafina squeezed her eyes shut, tears slipping down. "Get out of my head." The voice chuckled softly. "You can't fight what you are becoming." As the nights grew longer, Serafina began to sense things she shouldn't. The heartbeats of every wolf in the pack, the whispers of spirits in the forest, the hum of ancient magic buried beneath the soil. The witch's power pulsed through her veins, wild and intoxicating. "You see now? This isn't a curse. It's evolution." She tried to resist, grounding herself in the memory of Cairo's touch, his laugh, the warmth in his eyes. But even those memories began to blur. One evening, she caught herself standing over Cairo's bed, a dagger in her hand. She didn't remember picking it up. The witch's voice purred. "End him. Free yourself." "No," she whispered, dropping the blade. But her hand moved again, trembling violently. Cairo stirred, his instincts flaring. In an instant, he was on his feet, grabbing her wrists before the knife could touch him. "Sarah," he shouted, forcing the weapon away. Her body convulsed, eyes turning black. "It's not me," she screamed. The witch laughed through her mouth. "How sweet! He thinks you can be saved." Cairo's heart broke as she collapsed in his arms, shaking. He could feel her power surging like fire under her skin, and for the first time, he didn't know if love would be enough. They tried everything: rituals, ancient herbs, runes etched in blood and moonlight, but the witch wouldn't leave. "She's fused with your soul," said the elder healer, his tone grim. "To kill her, you'd have to destroy yourself." Serafina met Cairo's gaze across the firelit hall. "Then that's what I'll do." He stood instantly. "No, there has to be another way." "There isn't," she said quietly. "You know it." The witch's laughter echoed faintly in her ears. "He'll let you go, eventually. They all do." "I won't let her win," Serafina whispered. Cairo stepped closer, gripping her shoulders. "If you die, I die. Do you understand?" She smiled sadly. "Then you'll have to let me go first." She turned away before he could answer, walking into the dark woods where it all began. The moon watched silently above, its crimson glow fading to white. Every step she took made the witch scream louder, trying to claw back control. But Serafina's will burned stronger. "If I die tonight, I die as me." The forest came alive as she reached the sacred clearing. Fireflies glowed like tiny stars, and the air shimmered with ancient power. She knelt and pressed her palms to the earth. "Spirits of the moon, take her. Take me." The witch shrieked inside her mind. "You fool! Without me, you're nothing." "The nothing I'll be," Serafina said softly. Her body began to glow, light streaming from her skin. Cairo burst through the trees, shouting her name. "Sarah, stop!" She turned, smiling through tears. "Tell them I chose this." The witch howled, thrashing violently. Cairo ran forward, but an invisible barrier threw him back. Serafina's hair lifted in the wind, her eyes blazing gold. "Goodbye, Cairo." "No," he roared, slamming his fists against the barrier. "Please." She closed her eyes. "I love you." With that, the light consumed her, a blinding flash that shook the forest to its core. When it faded, she was gone. Only silence remained. Cairo fell to his knees. the earth trembling beneath him. The air smelled of ash and lavender. Somewhere in the distance, the moon cracked, a thin silver line across its surface, as if the heavens themselves were mourning.
The world stood still after the light vanished. The forest, once alive with whispers and wolves, had fallen silent. Smoke curled where Seraphina had stood, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air, as if her spirit had brushed the world one last time. Cairo knelt in the ashes, his breath shallow, his eyes vacant. His hands trembled as he touched the scorched earth. "She's gone," he whispered, but the words didn't sound real. The wind carried her scent, faint and haunting, lavender and rain. Around him, the pack gathered in stunned silence. No one dared speak. Even the moon seemed dimmer. Cairo's mark, once golden, now glowed silver, the same shade as the chains she had broken when they first met. He pressed his palm against it, feeling warmth pulse beneath his skin. "You didn't die. You became part of me." A single tear slid down his cheek, falling into the ashes, and where it landed, a silver flower began to bloom. It unfurled slowly, glowing in the moonlight. The pack gasped softly. Cairo looked up, hope flickering in his eyes for the first time since she vanished. The forest, once broken, began to breathe again. Days turned into weeks. The land healed faster than anyone expected. The rivers cleared, the wolves regained their strength, and the air shimmered with quiet peace. But Cairo was not the same. He ruled with wisdom instead of wrath, patience instead of pride. Every night he would stand at the edge of the valley, staring at the moon. Sometimes he could almost hear her voice in the wind, soft and teasing. "Still brooding, Alpha?" He'd smile faintly, answering the air. Always. One evening, as he stood there, a strange glow appeared on the horizon. The moon, fractured since her sacrifice, began to mend. The crack sealed itself in slow, radiant light until the surface shone pure silver. A hush fell over the valley. Every wolf lifted its head, howling, not in mourning, but in reverence. As their voices rose, Cairo's mark burned hotter, brighter, until light spilled from his chest. The silver glow formed the faint outline of a woman, her silhouette woven from moonlight and mist. "Seraphina," he breathed. She stepped forward, her eyes glowing softly. "I told you love could kill a god," she whispered, her voice echoing like a melody through the trees. Cairo reached out, afraid she would vanish if he blinked. But her hand touched his, warm and solid. "You came back," he said, his voice breaking. She smiled sadly. "Not as I was. The curse broke when I gave myself to the moon, but a part of me remains, bound to the light, bound to you." His heart ached, torn between joy and grief. "Can I hold you?" he asked softly. She nodded. His arms passed through her like water, but he felt warmth, real warmth, spread across his chest. She looked up at him, her gaze tender. "You have to live, Cairo. Rule wisely. Protect them. That's what this power is for." He shook his head, tears streaming down his face. "Without you, there's nothing left to protect." She cupped his cheek, her hand shimmering like starlight.
There's everything left. You carry my strength now, my light, my love. He closed his eyes, letting the truth sink in. When he opened them, she was fading, her outline dissolving into silver mist. Wait, he whispered. Please. She smiled one last time. I'll always be here, every time the moon rises. The next morning, the wolves awoke to find the valley bathed in soft silver light. The forest glowed faintly, and the once wild magic of the land now hummed in harmony. Cairo walked among them, his steps calm, his aura radiant. The silver mark on his chest now pulsed like a living heartbeat, not a curse, but a blessing. Under his reign, peace returned to the pack. The rogue tribes united, the lands flourished, and songs were written about the Louna who defied death itself. Cairo visited the clearing every full moon, kneeling before the silver flower that grew where she had fallen. Over time, hundreds more bloomed around it, covering the ground in pale light. He would whisper to them, I'm still yours. And every time the wind blew, the flowers swayed, as if answering him. The pack called it the Luna's Rest, a sacred ground where no blood could be spilled, no lies could be spoken, and no one could enter with hatred in their heart. It became a sanctuary, a reminder that love once given never truly dies. Years later, under a full silver moon, a young pup ran through the forest laughing. She had Seraphina's eyes, bright, golden hazel, and Cairo's spirit. The alpha watched her from afar, a smile tugging at his lips. The pup stopped suddenly and turned toward the sky, tilting her head. Mama, she whispered. The wind brushed through her fur, gentle and warm. Somewhere above, the moon glowed brighter. Cairo closed his eyes, feeling that same warmth wrap around him like an embrace. You're watching us, aren't you? He murmured. The breeze answered, carrying the faintest echo. Always. He looked up at the moon, tears shining in his eyes, and whispered, Until we meet again, my Luna. As the night deepened, the forest hummed with peace. The silver flowers glowed brighter, their petals reflecting the moon's gentle light. And for those who listened closely, they swore they could hear her voice in the wind. Soft, fierce, and eternal. The curse was gone. The love remained. And so, under the rise of the silver moon, the story of the Alpha King and his Luna became legend. Not of tragedy, but of forever.
Thank you for staying till the end. Please do well to like and subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comment. It means a lot to me.